We are one day away from the new Dave Matthews Band record, Come Tomorrow, and there has not been they haven't done a ton of press on this album. You know, we talked about this the days before the allegations against Boyd surfaced. Dave went and did one interview, and really hush has been the word. I think we've seen one album review prior to today. So they really have not given the album out to too many people to listen to and review. They did give a copy over to the New York Times, and the review coming in from the New York Times and John Perales was pretty favorable. I got the New York Times critics pick. Let's see here. For Dave Matthews, Dad Rock isn't a put down. Come Tomorrow, the 9th studio album by the Dave Matthews Band. It's first since 2012. Earnestly embraces fatherhood, commitment, lifelong romance, and hope for the next generations. The album starts with the song welcoming a new child, Samurai Cop, Oh Joy Begin, carried by pealing guitars that echo the reverent gravity of U2. And the album ends with When I'm Weary, an orchestral hymn that acknowledges dark days, but vows you remind me to keep on trying. A gloomy streak runs through Mr. Matthews' back catalog, the New York Times says, yet willed optimism fills the songs on Come Tomorrow, while cynicism and irony are nowhere within earshot. From end to end, it's an album of love songs, love progressing through childhood crushes, adult lusts, parental nurturing, and benedictions for unknown descendants. I got to tell you something. I am not one for reviews, especially the music reviews. They're all terrible. This one is actually pretty nice. This one actually kind of nails it. And I haven't, I've heard parts of the album, but they kind of nail their summary of Samurai Cop. They kind of nail it. The one revelation, and I know the question that's been on everybody's mind, or one of the questions since the allegations of Boyd Tinsley came out, which is how much is Boyd Tinsley actually on this album? And I was pretty shocked to see Boyd is on one track on the whole record. He only made it on one track on the whole album. So that's the kind of bit of news that we get from this review here, which I had not seen anywhere else. In fact, in the prior review, I don't think I saw it, even though I looked. That was kind of the question. How involved is Boyd in this record, which we now know spans the real 10 or 12 years. I think The Idea of You is the oldest track on the album, and that is the one song that he is on. Leroy Moore is on a few of the tracks. We had that confirmation early on. But we didn't really know how involved Boyd Tinsley was going to be. But The Idea of You is the only song that Boyd Tinsley is on. That's surprising to me. That is surprising to me. I mean, the whole thing against him, all the allegations against him, which, by the way, Boyd has come out and denied. He's called them false accusations, has been a shock to me. And the fact that he's only on one of that to me, that speaks a lot. That speaks a lot, because I thought that this album was really done in the can, if you will, back in February before he released a statement that he was leaving the group. I assumed that, from all the rumors that we heard, they were in the studio and blah, blah, blah. And now we know that they were in the studio and some stuff had gotten scrapped early on. And the whole album kind of got pieced together. They kind of on the fly decided, you know what, to heck with it. To heck with this studio and this producer. We're just going to do it in a bunch of studios with a bunch of producers. All those decisions were made on the fly. So I think it says a lot as far as where Boyd was with the band in this journey of the record making, that he is only on one track on the album. By the way, coincidentally, one of my favorite songs from Dave Matthews Band of all time. We only have one or two recordings of it from live shows, so I cannot wait to hear what the studio version is going to be. But I guess the question begs, and I've seen this in some of the comments in some of our previous Dave Matthews Band discussions, does his involvement in the album kind of ruin it for you? because nothing has been proven. Allegations were made. He denies it. Where the truth lies is up to everybody's individual decision to make. I have my feelings on it. People have theirs. Some people are different than mine. Most people aren't, but that's okay. Does that like bug you at all going into this album now that we're just less than 24 hours away from actually hearing it? I'd love to know your thoughts. Hey, Troll Pal, and I just wanted to put a little bit of an addendum on this story here, because when we talked about it on the air, I had not heard the album, and then somebody just sent me a bootleg copy, which I realize now is pretty circulated amongst the hardcore DMD fans, but I listened to the whole album. Holy cow, it's amazing. Might do a separate video just to review the record. I really, really like it a lot. But the one thing that is interesting is the only track that Boyd is on is The Idea of You, which has a little bit of that live cut that we've all heard for years on it, and then sort of fades into the studio version, and Leroy is obviously on it and prevalent. There is one other track. The really interesting part about this, and forgive me because I literally just have this, so like have had no time with it. We've been on the air and I've been trying to listen to it at the same time. There's one song that has a whole ton of strings on it. I think it might be Virginia in the Rain, or it might be another one. Forgive me. I'm sorry. I just got the album like 5 seconds ago, but it has a whole string part to it, and that doesn't have Boyd on it, which is really, really interesting, which goes to show that his involvement in this record was very, very, very minimal at best, if at all. Again, as far as The Idea of You goes, I don't know how much of that was taken from live stuff, or if he recorded it before he wound up departing. I'm not sure if he was on other tracks and they removed him. I really don't know. I'm sure we'll get the full story as we move along here, but it is definitely interesting that you know, as we've gotten closer to this release, and it's still yet to come, it still comes out tomorrow. Comes tomorrow, literally. We're learning more and more, and this is another little piece of this puzzle that he's not in it. They're using strings in it that's not him, and that just goes to show you how much the band has really tried to distance themselves from Boyd. If they weren't distancing themselves, they would have never released a statement saying he's no longer a member, and they would have probably kept him on the album a whole bunch more. So draw whatever conclusion you want from this, but facts are facts. There's strings on this album that are not Boyd, and that is what it is. So let me know in the comments below what you think about these latest developments, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Make sure you're catching up on all these at wehm.com.